Very much. Now, let's get into a conversation that touches on development and our cities. Now, with development that continues to be experienced across the world and here in Nairobi, a lot more needs to be done, and planning the cities is also needed. To have this conversation with me on how to decongest the cities is Abala Wanga, the Kisumu City Manager. Good morning to you, sir. How are you doing and how is Kisumu?
Morning, Dennis.
Yes, as we have this conversation, on issues to do with the decongesting the city, with this development, what must we do to be able to have cities that are functioning?
That is functioning is important because there are those key areas that you must ensure that happens in a city. The most important one to begin with is the affordable housing, our city residents where they stay, a conducive area. 2, the transport mobility system. How do city residents move from the particular area of their residence to where they are going? 3 is the trading zones. Where do you have the markets, the shopping centers? And 3 is the recreational facilities, sports ground, let me say parks, where you have the parks, the shopping centers, the sports ground where the malls will be. And it goes with schools, social amenities, hostels, and all those to plan a city. And then when it comes to transport mobility, it is important to understand the road infrastructure, what a road entails. How will that road provide walkway and motorized activities? Pedestrians, how will they walk? How will they cycle their bicycles? Or where will the vehicles move? And you categorize the vehicles. You categorize the vehicles in terms of heavy traffic, the buses, the trucks, the lorry loads. And then you come to the public transport system. If there's train system, if Kenya is popular with matatu system, and the transport buses. And also, if you see, we have been infiltrated with the motorbikes, border and tuk-tuk. So a city is a very complex. And then the final bit is the security, how street lights, the social amenities that the city needs, like the lighting of the city for security purposes, provision of water, provision of drainage system, sewer lines. All those are involved in planning a city. You cannot approve a building where there's a main water line is passing, or you cannot approve a road and just do it without providing way leave and walkways where the lights will pass, where the sewer line will pass, and the drainage. So it's a complex in planning a city. And in Kisumu, you can see how we are trying to decongest Kisumu for the next plan because the population is blowing up. So we want to see what happens in 30 years in Kisumu. Is it going to be congested or is it going to not be congested? Because the future now is urban. Every center around is becoming urban. So Kenya is going urban. Yeah.
Now, Mr. Abala, as we have this conversation now, the next role is there is planning, there is the codes that people need to follow and the laws that do exist, but we find the implementation and the follow-up on these laws have become a problem. So therefore, how do we make sure that all the relevant stakeholders come and play according to the laws and make sure that the buildings that are there, roads that are being constructed, meet the standard that are required?
Yeah, you see, the most important thing to follow in a city is the urban regulations. Mm-hmm. We have, like in Kisumu, we have passed the local physical land use and development plan. It has what is called the zoning controls. Zoning deals with the approvals. The people who mess up a city are the people who approve the infrastructure of the city in terms of buildings, roads, especially buildings. Because the buildings is where now you have to see how you limit the number of floors in a building, you limit the infrastructure in a specified piece of land, and you place an estate where must have social amenities, it has to relate with a sewer system and water provision. So when you want to mess up a city, you will mess up a city by changing a residential suburb to a skyscraper area without considering the water flow, the sewer system, and the drainage system. Because if there was a building, formerly a maisonette that had 5 families, and then you change that maisonette to have an apartment with 100 occupants with double families, then what will happen here is you have changed the complete system of that area. Water provision will go up, the sewer system must be expanded, all those amenities that are required will change. So mushrooming of approvals for buildings is how our city is messed up. But if we have a strict discipline on how a city, the approvals and controls should be done, then a city becomes a very beautiful specified city. A city must have a plan and a design, like the architectural design. If you go to St. Petersburg, Russia, you will find they borrowed, Peter the Great went to France and borrowed the French architectural design for the city. If you compare Paris with St. Petersburg, there's some similarities in how buildings are spaced and how buildings are lined up and how they control their flooding system through water canneling and converted those floods into transport system. So you see the beauty in Petersburg, it has some resemblance in Paris. Mm-hmm. And it is a strict code of planning a city in terms of buildings and all those city infrastructure. But what we miss in especially Kenya, we miss when we leave a group of people sitting in a city hall or somewhere to start messing up a whole design of an estate without considering everything. In Kisumu, for example, we had buildings that were approved on top of sewer line. Buildings that were approved and went into so many floors sitting on top of the main water treatment line that goes to the main treatment water of Kisumu. Buildings that were approved in the walkways. Constructions that were messed up in an estate. You go to an estate, there's no uniform design architectural design that makes an estate beautiful. So it is building, somebody comes with 13 floors, 4 floors, 10 floors, so it completely messes up a city.
Now, Mr. Abala, as we talk about planning the city, finally, the issue now would be the population pressure. How then do we make sure that we work on limiting the rural to urban migration, and that means developing other cities, other towns just outside the city?
Now, in Kenya, the future is urban. You cannot limit the rural to city migration. Mm-hmm. It will keep increasing and it will keep expanding. In Kisumu, we have looked at this, and our governor has seen far. We have looked at this to see Kisumu in a prism of 50 years coming. That's why you see now we have created new 7 growth zones in Kisumu, what we call the growth nodes, to expand the city. And we are now turning the city to face the lake. So we have designed a huge industrial park, industrial area, a sector where the trading will come. You know, people are going to train as mechanics, they're going to train as plumbers in those village vocational training, and the first place they'll come to is the city to look for the job. So we need an industrial park. A city without an industrial area is not a city, because that is the bottom line of trade and manufacturing. A city must be able to manufacture sofa sets. A city must be able to have blacksmiths, plumbers, and middle-level engineers, diploma engineers. Then your city must have markets, big markets. You see, we have brought up big markets. We have Kibuye market with a lot of expansion, almost over 15,000 traders. We have Uhuru Business Market. We are innovating Jubilee. We have Otonglo Market. So we need 15 markets to expand trade and business. Then we want to utilize the waterfront. in the next few years, you'll see a very well modern waterfront. We have started with Dunga. I have said that we are going to have a marina. A marina is like a bus stop where all the boats park. So the boats, boating, all the fishing activities with a good boardwalk and a promenade, of 17-kilometer promenade, to let the city now face the lake and use the waterfront. So the water amenities and the water activities will be approached by boats and the water transport. We want to improve the water transport and and the blue economy. That Kisumu can now start utilizing the lake. So anything, any industrial venture along the lake will be transferred to Kibos. And then the other growth center is we have provided decongesting the city. We have a transport mobility plan, which we are yet to figure out. We have figured out. So we have drawn 3 big transport lines. So there's Kiboswa to Dunga, and there's Maseno to Rabur, with the tramway and the buses. Now we are going to remove, we are phasing out what we call tuk-tuk in this city. We don't need them. If you go to Addis Ababa, you'll never see a boda-boda, you'll never see a tuk-tuk. The transport system is a living and a living job with a pension. In Addis Ababa, the buses are still there. They still carry people. It's an employment. If you go to Kigali, there is no tuk-tuk, and boda-boda is controlled because the Kigali city manager and the mayor declared tuk-tuk non-operation because they are congesting the city. They are congesting the transport system. And we need to expand and open up, like for Nairobi.
Yes, Mr.
Nairobi, you see, Nairobi city is overwhelming for the government. So it needs to be disintegrated into boroughs so that the governor can have borough managers. Yeah, borough managers with a borough management team. And because the more the city becomes huge, the more you need to decongest by disintegrating the administrative system.
Yes.
That is what we are doing in Kisumu. Kisumu now, our new plan has new road infrastructure, new transport mobility system. We have new buildings and controls. Like now we have marked Milimani, Riat Hills, to be the second elite estate. We are restricting the ownership of land there to be half an acre. And you can't build more than 3 floors on top.
Yes.
Going up.
Yes, and Mr. Bala.
We are yes.
As you continue to work on improving the city, we agree that a lot more needs to be done. And this conversation definitely must continue. And as you continue in planning, we look forward to coming to a city that works, a city that moves, and a city that accommodates everybody. Mr. Abalawanga, Kisumu City Manager, as he explains how we should be able to decongest our